Progressive presents Mindfulness with Flow.
You are a mighty fortress of supreme knowledge. Progressive Direct has not only revealed their rates, but those of their competitors. If you were any more in the know, you would be drowning in, the know.
Compare Progressive Direct rates with competitors' rates, because knowledge is power. Visit Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Because we don't understand how life formed, it is difficult to estimate this probability. The likelihood of a complex molecule like DNA being created by random collisions of atoms in a primordial ocean is fantastically small. In an infinite universe, it would happen in some places, but they would be very far apart. If we want to find advanced intelligent life, our best bet is to listen for radio signals.
Look up to the stars and the forests that surround. Do you see them? Do you hear them? Are they there? SpacedOutRadio.com presents S4 with Forest Moon Paranormal's Eric Cooper and friends. Also, take the time to join the Forest Moon Paranormal Facebook group.
I knew I should have made a left turn in Albuquerque.
Conspiracy, Area 51, Dogman, Ghosts, Cover-Ups, UFOs. The hidden will reveal itself.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go live on S4 with Eric Cooper.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4 with Eric Cooper, broadcasting live from the beautiful mountains of Concrete, Washington. And now, without further ado, your host, Forest Moon Paranormal Zone, Mr. Eric Cooper.
Hey, good evening, S4ians. And yeah, I don't know, Corey, if you look out your window, it's raining like cats and dogs out here.
It is, been all day.
But we are still in the awesome mountains of Concrete, Washington. So regardless, we need the rain. It is an awesome October, my favorite season, and I'm sure everybody on the panels, it's just, I don't know, something about October. But real quick, before we get started tonight, we do have training tomorrow for anyone local listening. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. at Annie's Pizza is our first training of the year for our year, because we do start in October. So tomorrow is Paranormal 101, the capacity and capabilities of Force Moon Paranormal, the ethics, the code of conduct, and basically what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. And followed by, in November, we will be doing protection, which to me, protection is highly important. And we'll be covering all aspects of paranormal protection. And tomorrow you're also going to hear dangers of the paranormal and be a good discussion. And that's going to go from about 2 to 5. And then we'll be having a core group meeting after that, discussing some plans we're looking at, an S4 schedule, training schedule, and whatnot. And so without further ado, how's everyone doing tonight? Tonight we got Keith, Markham, and Corey and myself. And ideally, Christina George will be coming on as soon as she gives us a heads up that she's available. So how are we doing tonight?
Fantastic.
No,
how was that trip? How was that trip home, Markham? That took you forever to get home after Paracon.
Yeah, it was sort of a winding route from Washington back to New Mexico.
And you had an interesting experience, or a couple of different times. Did you not?
Yeah. Mount Shasta was crazy.
Kind of leading as to why we're talking about abduction tonight, and trends and some disturbing news I'm hearing from several different sources that stuff is heating up and stuff's going to get worse, which is why I'm glad we got Keith on board tonight, especially as to what he's hearing and seeing and feeling.
Yeah, and considering that 4 days ago or just 3, I lose track of time sometimes, but I ended up getting taken just a few days ago because of what's going on.
Okay.
So, I mean, all in all, I don't know if I want to say it disturbing or exciting. It's kind of a toss-up for me. But, you know, there's a lot of change and a very, very big message that is trying to be handed out very quickly to people on the whole. I don't know if you want to get into that right away, or if you want to hear about Eric's journey home and the excitement that he had there. Because quite frankly, the Paracon is still rather fresh in everybody's mind anyway.
It is, and I don't want to talk about next year right away until we get some things hashed out locally. But Paracon was overall awesome. It was successful in my mind. And even though we had lower numbers than we expected, that was the only real downfall. Overall, I think it went smooth. Great camaraderie. We all got to get together, and that was the awesome part of it.
Oh yeah,
but we did get some negative comments as far as it wasn't what I think the local community expected. They expected a big number of people, and I'm sorry, but when the community's not endorsing or promoting the event, what do you expect? That's the downfall of it.
Yeah, well, that's something that we're going to have to work on to get across to the community, because realistically, the community itself, and I agree with you wholeheartedly on this, has to do some advertising or playing on the issue of the Paracon, because it's a small town.
Right. And those are things we'll either work on or we'll move to another area. That's just the bottom line.
Well,
I'll just be blunt about
it. And to be honest, there's a couple of people in a little bit higher spots of the town that I'm actually going to hold their feet to the fire a little bit on that, because there's no reason why at this point we shouldn't be getting some support from them and some support from the Chamber of Commerce and such. So yeah, there's going to be a couple of people that I'm going to go talk to, and kind of hold their feet to the fire about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah,
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. Because we got no support this year. We got even less support last year. We had to do everything on our own. And for bringing, people to this community, you would think they'd be more on board. And so anyway, moving on. That's not for the show tonight. Like I said, though, I think a lot of good information was put out. There were a lot of awesome contacts made. We met Mr. Moore, the lawyer from SUFON, the Seattle SUFON, the Seattle UFO Network. That was a plus on our side, especially for the GPI movement, and for Forest Moon Paranormal for Spaced Out Radio as a whole. And I forgot, the views and opinions of S4 do not reflect that of Spaced Out Radio or the KTLK FM, The Fringe, which we are a part of now. And that's an exciting move as well. We are a part of KTLK FM, The Fringe.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on that.
It is. It's a step up and a step forward. And it'd be great to get, Joseph Roop and the crew from KTLK to Paracon one year. They're a long way out. They're hard to get on the show because of the time difference and their work schedules. But, it troubles me, one, and I'm not going to banter on it too much, but the opinions and views of some people in the paranormal. Because, I kicked a guy out today. Because, okay, so we're actually dealing with 6 cases right now. Forest Moon Paranormal is. And one reason, and I want to address this real quick, one reason I turn off commenting in the group when we have a case is because we have people in the group, and they have good intentions, not taking that away. But when we're actually working a case, you have people throwing in their opinions and views of that particular client. And some of them are so far out in left field, and others have a scientific mind that, it's not paranormal. You're experiencing this. You're experiencing that. Well, the clients take those opinions and views and think they're a part of our actual team. And they get, frustrated. So I actually had to kick someone out today because the scientific mind is not the only side of the paranormal. Now, I think you can agree with that, Markham. You have to have a balance of science as well as what some would call woohoo, And, we're considered a woohoo group because we have mediums, we have astral, and that's the only way you can help clients.
Yeah, I've done quite a 180 in the last year and a half. I used to think that the psychics and the so-called woo-woo factor had no place on a paranormal team. But I've come to realize that having any kind of absolute opinion like that dooms you to fail. Because we are in a field that is so undocumented. So, we don't know what, be honest, we don't know crap from Shinola for the most part. It's kind of trial and error. We're writing the book as we move along. So, hey, you don't go pheasant hunting without your bird dog. I don't think you should go on a for lack of a better term, ghost investigation without a vetted, accurate psychic. And right. I know that such things do exist, so.
They do. They're just a hard thing to find.
Ours is vetted hands down, and I mean, it was cool that Corey got to see that. Our last Boots on Ground case we did was, you could see the correlation, and everything matched up completely between astral, medium, and equipment. So that you can't get better than that.
No, when you can match all three, you're right in the ballpark. It's all money right there at that point. You got solid evidence all the way around, and that also makes it to where that you can help a client out much more quickly. The upside of that is that we were able to take care of that case very quickly, very thoroughly. I mean, we literally militaried that thing right to the money, and when we were done, those clients have been happy ever since and no issues. So, good job.
Hey, well, and that's also what kills me is these teams that are out there that anyone that says you can't do it, you have to, you can do a case quick is full of it, because it takes 48 hours to do a case. No, it really doesn't. Now, if you're after evidence, it might take 48 hours, but we're not after evidence. We're after clients that need help. That's why we're an emergency response team. But, it takes 48 hours because you have to set up the cameras just right. You have to get, it takes 24 hours to go through your your EVPs and no, it doesn't. But, to each their own, and they're going to do things their way. And that's fine. We can clear a case in an hour.
I'm going to ask you a question more from a layman's standpoint than anything else, but I realize with you guys, because you've got a heck of a team, but when you're dealing with a team with a qualified team that actually is doing what they should be, how long, from your experience with a shall we say not as experienced team, how long should it reasonably take to accomplish that end? For example, a mechanic can do a tune-up, a basic mechanic can do a tune-up in, an hour. An incredibly, a qualified mechanic, in this case, you guys would fall into that, can do it in 20 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
No, that's a hard one to answer, Keith, because of the fact that you don't find a whole lot of teams out there that are in it to clear. They're into,
I agree with,
quote unquote, they're in it to investigate. Why? I don't know. Some of them do it because, well, frankly, they want to, prove there's life after death, or they want to find Grandma Martha, or they all have their own reasons, and that's respectful. I can get on board with that. But do not tell a client you're here to help them if you're not.
Oh, that I agree with.
So that's a hard one to based on that fact. Now, if you have a medium, or you have the experienced person that knows how to clear, how to pass over spirits, how to fight malevolent entities, I would say you should be able to, if you take it slow, you should be able to do it 12 hours. And that's stretching, because like I said, we can usually clear a normal case, and I don't think there's such a word as normal in this. But if we go to a basic case, we can get it done within an hour. Now, we do have cases that are still ongoing that we've worked for about a week now. It all depends on the severity of it. And if the client,
that's reasonable.
Right, and if the client's listening, because you have the cases where, I was playing with the Ouija board, and this happened. Okay, well, stop playing with the Ouija board until you read the instructions. And there are no instructions, but until you learn how to protect yourself, how to close the board properly, how to clear everything. Don't play with it again.
Yeah.
Well, then, 2 days later, I've got a problem. Well, did you pick up the Ouija board again? Yeah. Well, we can't help you. Because if you bring it on yourself, and this is going to sound cold, but if you bring it on yourself out of stupidity, we'll help you one time. If you don't listen to what we tell you, and you keep, do it again, we're done. I've got too many other cases that come in all the time that take priority.
Yeah, see, that's the one difference. You call that stupidity on the one. I call that true ignorance. If they don't know better, and they walked into it, or they bought into it as in picked up a house that was that way to start with. To me, that's true ignorance. Stupidity is when you've actually sat down and said, look, don't do this anymore. They turn around and do it again, I run into that all the time, and I'm like, really? And you're wondering why you have a problem?
And then you have the conjurers. But I mean, you know, every case is different. Every case has its own ups and downs. Every case, if you educate them and they listen, they'll be fine. Now, not always. Sometimes something else will get attracted to them, and we'll go out and help them again because they followed the instructions, they followed the education, but something happened that was against their power. So every case is different.
Oh yeah,
every
absolutely
case is treated
they are.
differently. So Markham, tell us about your trip. Tell us, tell our listeners about the cloud over Shasta.
Okay, what happened is it's really weird. And if I didn't have a witness, I'd wonder if I'd been seeing things. But there was this cloud, and it was attached to the top of Mount Shasta. There's other clouds moving past Shasta, above and around and all that. This cloud was like it was anchored. It wouldn't move. It would stream off or expand. But as soon as I would stop, get my camera out to take a picture, it would contract again. Happened twice. And I was like, it would spread out and it looked kind of menacing, and I thought, well, I'll get a picture of it. And by the time I stopped the car, got the camera out, it had contracted to, it's on my Facebook page. Anybody wants to see it, and I'm sure Elizabeth is going to post some of that when we discuss it tomorrow night on her show. But it was just crazy, and there were some, I don't know, everything had been kind of lighthearted right up to then. It's like at that, I don't know, she and I both had different types of reactions in that area. So I don't know. That was the scientist in me wants to explore microclimate, and and I've got some feelers out, and I've contacted some people that are more into the meteorology than I am at present, which, on a tangent, I think that's what I love so much about the paranormal and all this stuff. It just leads down. It's like, oh, I need to study this now. So now I'm looking into meteorology to see if there's any kind of way to explain a cloud that doesn't move off the mountaintop. So far, I don't think there is. I know. Well, I know what others, I know what the paranormal people have said was going on. And until I can prove otherwise, and I mean, I'm not out to prove otherwise, if I can find a theory that will explain some of it, I'll have to honestly say this, it could have been this, but I'm, with what everybody else was saying was going on, it sort of matches the visual evidence.
Yeah, sort of the, if you will, abnormalities.
Yeah, it's sort of, science aside, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Well, I was told one day by a very, very intelligent individual that when you don't have physical evidence, with the amount, in this case, the amount of circumstantial evidence you have, go with the circumstantial, treat it as though it's real, but keep an eye open for that one piece of information that may or may not derail it.
Right.
Now, we have a cloud very similar to that hangs around Mount Baker. And I think you can attest to the fact that volcanic mountains, whether they're asleep using the term loosely, because I don't think they're ever fully asleep, but dormant volcanoes and active volcanoes usually have a UFO presence around them, correct?
Even extinct volcanoes do.
Right. And I think Mount Rainier, Mount Rainier is a whole other story because they don't just have the UFO activity on top; they actually have alien activity on them. I've heard several cases of that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you talk about the Romplins, who believe that there's a draconian reptilian race that actually lives inside the mountain, with tunnels that go from the mountain to Fort Lewis, which you can look that up. Actually, Google Madigan reptilians, and you'll find a whole plethora of material on that one.
Now, is that, pardon my obtuseness here, but is that the mountain you were pointing out when we were down in Concrete there?
No, you can't see Rainier from here. Well, Mount Baker, yeah. Mount Baker is the very large snow-covered mountain. Soft Mountain is the one I was pointing out to you, and that's the one that's also got a reptilian race on.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's what I was referring to, is the one that you said they had the base under, or you'd been told.
Well, there is a volcanic vent on the backside of Sock Mountain that's connected to Baker, and that's supposed to be where the nest is.
Well, we got to remember, most reptilians are essentially cold-blooded. So, of course, when you're looking at, number one, that aspect, and number two, the geothermal energy they work with, it stands to reason that volcanoes are where they settle in.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a matter of physiology, not just a matter of, remoteness.
Right. And that makes sense.
The difficult part is when you run into, there are a few of the, I call them reptilians simply because they look like like Terran reptiles. But rest assured, that is about where the similarity, if you will, ends.
Okay.
You take a look, for instance, at the Sazosians, let's say the 7.5 to 8.5 foot reptilians. They're warm-blooded. These are not people that you want to count on requiring solar energy. But that whole side of things is an interesting situation, especially where it especially as it pertains to the paranormal, to the abduction side of things, and much more importantly, really the sightings.
Okay, let's for our new listeners that know nothing about the abduction, I want to hit signs and symptoms heavy tonight for a few minutes. And then we'll go into the new information, the new trends that we're seeing. Because not everyone knows about abduction. We do have a lot of people that are very, very new to the UFO. I get this all the time. I know all about spirits and ghosts, and I've even seen a Bigfoot, but I don't know anything about UFOs and aliens. I hear that a lot, which is why I like hitting abduction at least every 3 or 4 months, because of trends. And because there's more people being abducted than realized. So a lot of times the first sign you're going to see is a UFO sighting. And then you're going to have missing time. Now, this is not an all-inclusive list. It's a common list. And there's a common set of patterns. But if you're not careful, you will have a medical condition that can fit some of the signs. You'll have a psychiatric condition that can fit some of the signs. So just because you have a couple of the signs does not mean you are an abductee. That's why I clarify that.
Yeah, and I could not agree with you more. There are people, and it's nice to hear any professional qualify something with, like I do it all the time. I am not a medical doctor, but right. I know people that, for instance, will suffer missing time. And the problem, as it turns out, And quite frankly, it turned out with a couple of people extremely close to me, missing time turned out to be the predecessor to having a very severe stroke.
Right, exactly. Well, just like nosebleeds while you sleep. So nosebleeds can be caused if you're anemic. They can be caused if you have a thinning of the blood, which is pretty much anemia. It can be caused by high blood pressure. It can be caused by dry air. I mean, there's some of these signs can be medical conditions. There's also the big debate over sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is simply when your mind wakes up before your body can move. I think that's the cut and dried version of sleep paralysis.
Yeah, that's about
it can also be a sign of abduction. So, one or two of these signs does not mean you're abducted. I'd be getting checked out by a doctor with some of them. Dreams of aliens, that's a big one. Missing time can be a big one. Implant or raised bump in the skin. Again, do you have shrapnel? Have you ever been in the military? Let's see, and you can back me up on this, Keith, as well. I know back in the 90s, they used to be in the nasal cavity. They used to do implants. I think they still do some of them. Because there's a whole list of, each race has their own style or own technology of implant.
Yes.
And I know there's one race that puts it in the brain. You're not going to see that unless you actually get a CAT scan. We do have an abductee that we've been working with who hasn't been abducted. We've actually successfully stopped abductions this year. This will be the first year, which I'm really excited about that because I've been working with abductees since 1994. And, from 1994 until this year, the only thing I could do to help abductees was try to find them a peer-led support group and start a dream journal and, keep track of it.
Yeah, and
now we're actually stopping. Yeah, it's not. A lot of them actually felt better knowing that they're not alone, knowing that there's someone out here listening to them and believing them, because they thought they were losing their mind. And we've successfully stopped 4 different cases. Why just 4? Because it's hard as hell to get abductees to come out and talk about it. It's hard as hell to get abductees to ask for help. They don't want to talk. I'm still waiting. I've been waiting for about 3 months now from a referral from another group for an abductee that wanted help.
Yeah.
But another team said they were going to help him, apparently. And, well, he was disgusted by their actions. They probably didn't believe him. So this individual has yet to contact us.
Understandable under the circumstance.
Well, exactly. But that's my frustration, is getting people that need the help to come out and ask for it. So getting back to the implants, we have successfully, using energy, stopped or dismantled the implants. But like you said, I think it was about a month ago, that they can be reactivated by the race that implanted.
Yeah, they can.
And so Levon is asking in the chat room, why is Teton Valley, Idaho, a hot spot? And you might actually be able to answer that, Keith. What do you know about Teton Valley, Idaho?
Well,
usually hot spot.
Geography becomes a little bit of a problem.
Okay.
One itty-bitty question. Don't get along all that well. I haven't done a lot of research. As a matter of fact, I've done virtually none. But Teton Valley, is that anywhere near the missile silos?
Let's see if he answers it. A lot of times around the hot spots, you'll actually find there's an underground base in the area.
Well, this is why I'm asking about the silos itself, because what I have found is anywhere there are the nuclear missile silos, the off-worlders are very attentive to what's going on and what mankind is trying to deal with.
Right. He's saying no, it's not. It's not near the missile silos.
That puts me at a little bit of disadvantage.
Right. But no, well, like you said, it has to do with the geography of the area. If there's mountain areas around it, that's a good hiding spot for a lot of the races where they live.
There is large mountains there. Very large.
Right.
Yeah, see, if there's what would be classified as extinct volcanoes, that's another reason they may have set up there. Because especially with extinct ones, they don't have to do any mining to set the base up. Right.
Now, real quick. So, getting back to signs and symptoms, you wake up with unexplained bruises or marks. The common mark is the scoop mark, and I get asked this all the time too: is what's a scoop mark look like? It looks like you took a spoon, a real small spoon, and you scoop the skin into like a little hole. That's a scoop mark.
Yeah, kind of looks like a grapefruit scoop.
Yeah, it does. It does. And you know, I love pictures, but honestly, it's hard to get evidence because people just don't take pictures of this stuff too often. Fear of deer or owls. So many races that abduct. And we've discussed this before. There's 16 documented races that are abducting. And I know you said there's a lot more, but I'm just talking about the documented races.
Right.
That are abducting. And each one of them has their own agenda. Some of them are doing it for science, much like we go out and take elk and track them. Some of them do it for social experiments because they like seeing emotions of humans when they see disasters. That's one example. Some of them do it for the hybrid program, in which they implant human females and then take the fetus 2 months later, and they've been doing that since the 90s. Some of them do it because, well, you know what? Humans taste like chicken, so they actually eat humans, and that's why they abduct us. And those are the missing persons cases, in some cases. So 16 races are abducting, each of them with their own agenda, each of them with their own technology, with their own implants, with their own signs and symptoms, essentially. But a common denominator is, I'm trying to think of the terminology, and I'm having a brain cramp tonight. Screen masking or mind masking, there we go, where they can actually block your mind, and that's why some people will dream about it later.
Oh, a screen memory.
Yeah.
There you go, screen memory. Thank you. So,
don't you love brain hiccups?
That's why we have a whole team that comes on S4 every week. Now, the screen memory, they can't hide their eyes. That's one thing they can't hide. So, a lot of them have big eyes. So, what people will be afraid of, and they don't know why, is deer and owls and, you know, animals that they use as a screen memory that have big eyes. And they've probably been scared of these animals since childhood and didn't know why.
Because more often than not.
Right, exactly. And what I get at, and I'm thinking of all the questions I get asked all the time, and that's the easiest way to answer them all. But why are they getting abducted? Well, if you go back and you ask your mom and dad or your grandparents, I'd be willing to bet that they've had some weird experiences in childhood as well. And they've been abducted too, because a lot of times it's a family line or a bloodline that they're abducted. And something that's kind of funny. No, it's not funny. I don't think abduction's funny. But if you go out and get an earring, or you get a tattoo, or something modifying your body, you're probably going to get abducted because, well, they're curious about it. They've never seen an earring before. Or, oh, wow, look, they got some coloring on their skin. What is that? And, yeah, so some things just make you shake your head.
Well, yeah, and you know the thing is, before everybody starts jumping on the bandwagon that, oh, if I go out and get a tattoo, I'm going to get abducted.
That's right.
That's not the way that works. However, I do absolutely agree if they're already being abducted, making a physical change to the body is a virtual guarantee they're going to pick you up to find out why. You know, to log in the change for their own records.
Now, the last big sign I always look for is electrical appliance anomalies. Now, these are the ones these are the people that have gone through probably about 20 different computers, because for whatever reason they'll get a new computer and they'll get on it and it'll last maybe a week or two, and all of a sudden your hard drive crashes. These are the people that'll walk by streetlights, and they've noticed over the years that every time they walk by a streetlight, that light goes out. And
hands in the air.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's due to the implant, is it not?
It's usually due to the implant, but the one thing that I will caution people on, some people that are very high in the metaphysical energies will have the same impact if they're not grounded.
Right.
You know, so
that's true too. That's true too.
You know, it's definitively not a giveaway, but again, when you start putting that together with multiples, I find a good ratio is if you're hitting 75% of the markers, odds are pretty good you're being picked up.
Right. Okay, Native Earth Lady's got a good question. What about the triangle shape with 3 dots at the point, also bright red inside of the triangle? And you'll probably be able to elaborate on that more, but I can tell you this, back when the hybrid program was at its peak back in the 90s, one thing women were waking up with was a triangle-shaped pattern of puncture marks in the lower abdomen.
Yep. And I can tell you from practical experience, it's very much an implant.
The triangle shape is?
No question there. I can even tell you who. That would be the Ant Focus, and that's not a good group.
Well, I want to know, how big is it? If you put a quarter on it or a dime, how big a diameter is this triangle?
Actually, I think the name of the coin is a centavo. I believe that's the one that fits, which is about half the size of a penny.
Okay. So those are your basic
not a big
signs
mark by any means.
Well, isn't there some kind of prosaic explanation for the headlight thing? Because I'm thinking the street light thing. Because I know they've got a daylight sensor on them. And I remember years ago, I thought I was triggering it. Well, it turns out one of my headlights was cocked funny, and I think it was just, I think it was the headlight that was actually. But now recently, I've got one that cuts off on me, and I've got a new car, and the headlights are the right way.
No. To clarify it, we're talking walking by them, not driving.
Oh, walking? Okay.
Yeah.
If you're walking past the street light, if you're walking on the sidewalk and you notice the street lights are going out as you're walking past them, not driving, because that's easily explainable by. It's.
Well, it just dawned on me that there is.
I've had them both happen, so I'm kind of starting to worry.
Well, there is one thing that just came to mind regarding figuring out the specifics on the trigger on the streetlight thing. If you're finding that you're walking by them and you trigger them, try stopping before you get to the range that you usually find, and see if by focusing you can trigger it. Because here the kicker is this: if it's simply being caused by the implant, it will have a set range that it's starting to trigger. If you happen to be metaphysically gifted, you can amplify that and focus it and take the light out deliberately. An implant won't let you take it out deliberately.
Good to know.
So those are the main signs and symptoms, unless you can think of more that I'm overlooking. one thing I encourage anyone that thinks they've been abducted to do is start a dream journal. And with the dream journal, you're going to put your date, time, the weather, and a good description, and any pictures you get in your head, any pictures that you can remember in your dream.
Absolutely.
I get asked. I get asked why the weather, and well, the weather has a lot to do with how you're dreaming. And just because you're dreaming about a possible abduction and it's a lightning storm out, doesn't necessarily mean you're being abducted. It's just your mind moving in whatever direction because there's a lightning storm out. Just some things to throw out there. I don't like freaking people out, and I really, really hate being the one to tell people, well, gosh, I don't think it's a spirit. You're actually fitting about 20 of the 25 signs of abduction. I don't like being the one to break to people that they fit the pattern, and I do it all the time.
I had the displeasure of doing that the other day.
Right.
Had somebody contact me with a whole series of things, and it comes up to it falls into the category of changing patterns that I'm seeing lately. Where the frequency of individual abduction seems to be going through the roof in certain cases.
Yeah. And so Native's asking, and who would we give the pick to? Well, any group or team that deals with abductions, which we are one. So I wouldn't post it particularly in the group, but you can send it to me directly. Due to confidentiality. And as I said earlier in the show, one reason that we do shut off comments for cases that we're doing is because, I have complete faith and confidence in my team. I know what they're capable of. I know how they work. And we have 8,000 plus people in the Forest Moon group. Now, about 10% of them are former clients. And other ones have been in the paranormal field for, who knows how long, and have their own views, have their own opinions. But when we're actually working on your case, I only want my direct team to answer your questions and to handle your issue, which is why I turn off comments. So yeah, when it comes to confidentiality, you can send it straight to me right off Facebook. So what are we seeing for patterns? It's October, and oh my God, everybody comes out of the woodwork because it's Halloween, and oh my gosh, the veil's opening, and all the spirits are coming out. And then you get all these new paranormal teams that we're a professional paranormal team. Well, how long you been, practicing? How long you been in the field? A year. How many cases have you done? 10. And you're a professional paranormal team. Okay. Well, Halloween brings them all out. Do we see a rise in abductions?
Intriguingly enough, no. From everything I've picked up, it's really not so much a rise in abductions as a rise in awareness of them. Realistically, the off-worlders don't really care what holiday that you're celebrating. They're going to do things their own way.
Yeah, right.
But there's a lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of people around Halloween that will tell me, oh, I've got missing time. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Around Halloween, there's a lot more people that have missing time than during the rest of the year, aside from New Year's. And guess what causes most of it? But it really, from my experience, and I'm presuming that you can sort this one out a little better, Eric, but from everything I've seen, there isn't really a rise in the frequency of abduction. There is certainly a rise in the sighting of UFOs, because as people are well aware, the second you put Halloween in the air, everybody's looking for the UFO and for the abnormalities, which means you're alert for them. It's not just going to happen. It's not something that you just stumble across, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I find But, the danger point, of course, is a second, especially around Halloween. The moment you say something weird is going on, automatically people will bypass the logical causes, which is where you guys come in really handy. Where you focus on, let's check all the logical ones first, and then we'll start looking for other explanations if we haven't come up with it yet.
Yeah, and that's where. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Anyway, I'm always multitasking. That's where. Yeah, multitasking ain't always good. But that's where. So for background, we always look for the mundane. And if the astral team, for example, goes in and they don't find anything, that's where the GPI is going to come in handy, because the astral team is going to work hand in hand with a boots on ground team, regardless of where you're at. Ideally, with the Global Paranormal Initiative that we're starting, we will have 2 teams in each state and 2 teams in each country. That makes it global. We already have a surgeon, Rahul, in India, who has a diploma in parapsychology, actually forensic parapsychology, as well as demonology, and he's a surgeon. So if there's an implant, say in the, I believe it's the mandible area, he can remove it. That's what we need. We need. If we want to scientifically expand this field, we need to get implants. Hard,
absolutely,
in your hand. Hard in your hand, physical implants. When Dr. Roger Lear was doing it, unfortunately, he's very missed because he died, last year, or was it this year? I think it was
early this year, but it might have been really late last year, but it certainly wasn't long ago.
No, not at all. And he was, surgically removing implants for, years. And no one stepped up to pick up, to my knowledge anyway, to pick up after his shoes. I believe there is one, but I can't remember the name. But that's what we need. We need hardcore evidence to, use Markham's science to back up what we're seeing.
Absolutely.
Markham needs a bunch of money so he can set up his lab and have an electron scanning microscope.
Well, that's just it.
I mean, I don't remember seeing anything. I saw some light microscopy photos of what Lear was taking out of people, but I don't think I ever saw an electron photomicrograph. Something way down past what visible light can do as far as magnification.
Now I'm also curious, what's that going to show with an implant?
That's just it. I don't know. I would think it would show surface structure. Take a look at something like this is what I would do if I had an implant. Okay, let me back up. I would prep it just like I would do a frozen section or a tissue in pathology. I would embed it in wax. I would take the microtome and try and get a slice. And it's such, at that, I don't know, microtome for anybody, I don't want to get into the jargon, but a microtome is think of a razor blade, only sharper, and it can take very thin layers. It could take like a skin cell and cut it in half. That's how fine the blade is. And that's what I would want to do. I would want to shave that implant, maybe 5 or 6 layers down, and then do a photomicrograph of each section. There might be circuit diagrams there. I don't know. Keith can probably talk to that more. But I would think if we could take something out to that level, we could show that it's just not something that the body calcified.
Now, I've got a question, and maybe between you and Keith, we will get an answer. If I had a boots-on-ground case, and I had a client that said they feel they have an implant, would that show up in an EMF meter? Or is there any kind of radiation? Is there any kind of radiation to an implant?
Well, there is, but here's the kicker to it. Number one, would it show up? And if I'd have been thinking, I'd have actually gotten you to use that thingummy on me, just for giggles, if you will, because my field's a little weird anyway. But it is very likely it would show up, especially if the individual has a good idea of where they suspect the implant would be. Because the radiation it'll pick up, let's be clear, does not cause cancer. Okay, I've never, in all fairness, heard of any implant causing any sort of a cancer being developed. But it does have, what it is it's a modification to the biomagnetic field. And that is the one thing that doing that slice on the off-world technology would do, is you'd see, much as the circuits, you'd recognize it as circuitry, the configuration is all wrong. The actual physical configuration is a combination of technological and biological particles.
Okay. So there would be a radio signal that would come out of it.
I would be inclined to say yes. But
are they using RF or are they using some other kind of passive? Seems to me a lot of what there is like a passive, like a device we used to have. They used to put them in Carvin guitars. It didn't broadcast a signal, but if you had the device that read them, they were called SNAG, SNAGG. The scanner would activate them. Is that how some of these implants work? They're not going to send out a signal unless they're activated by a specific keyed or dedicated scanner.
Well, ironically, the answer is yes, but it's one step beyond what you would think is dedicated, because it'll be keyed to a scanner that is actually run by a specific, if you will, doctor or scientist. Mm-hmm. Like they're literally biometrically aligned.
Mm.
No.
Well, that makes sense. We're dealing with a higher technology, so yeah, their toys are better than ours, so I can see where they would program that kind of specificity.
But, that was easy for you to say.
How would you know, looking at an implant and looking through your microscope, if it wasn't a government-planted implant like human technology? What would be the difference that you would see between human and alien, just looking at an implant?
Just looking at the surface?
Yeah.
Are we talking about looking at it once you've got it out, or looking at it through a spectrograph or that sort of thing?
Well, either one. Would you see a difference in alien technology versus human if you're looking at just, a very small implant?
Not a whole lot. In all fairness, especially if you're looking at an image, you, in all likelihood, with today's technology, wouldn't be able to tell the difference on an image. Okay.
When now, if you ran it through mass spec, would you get, would you have alloys showing up that weren't terrestrial, or would there be some kind of telltale if you started digging beyond the surface?
Yeah, there's one that you'd see.
Molecular.
There's one you'd see right away. The off-worlders do not have a seam on their material anywhere on the outside casing. Terrestrial implants do.
Okay.
So it's like a casting.
I'm just thinking of what would the skeptic come up with. The skeptic's going to say, "Well, how do you know the government didn't do it?" And you got to have you got to be 3 steps ahead of the skeptic.
Oh, you absolutely do.
Let me clarify on that. I'm
kind of of the opinions. Are we talking skeptics or are we talking debunkers? Because I'm a skeptic.
Yeah, I think
I'm not a denier or a debunker. Yeah, okay.
Debunkers would be the problem.
To be honest.
Right. I agree with you, Marco. I mean, I'm a skeptic myself, and I do this for a living.
Yeah.
But I mean, I must say, Mark, Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I'm talking about the one that's going to see the alien in its front yard and go, "Oh, it's a demon."
That's a demand. That's a denier. That's just a dip. Well, wait, we're on terrestrial. I can't finish that.
Because the skeptic is the one that'll see the alien and go, "Oh my God, there really are aliens," and can change his mind. The hardcore debunker is the one that's going to call it a demon and say, "Yep, see, aliens still don't exist because aliens really were demons. I knew it all along. I'm Catholic." So,
I think that's just ignorance, though. I mean, because what's a demon?
Well,
we could say it's a demon, but what if the demon is just an extraterrestrial entity or a race that, we've called them demons for 1,000 years, but they're just people like us. Slightly different, but, okay.
Yeah, demons are off-worlders. Every demon I've ever run into, every so-called demon, is an off-worlder, but not every off-worlder is a demon.
Mm-hmm. It just takes all the fun out of it. What are they going to do on TV now?
Real quick, because I know Corey's about to cut us off. We have about 3 minutes to break, and this hour went. They always fly. But real quick, Levon does want to know. He understands it's electrical, but is the casing usually of a metal type? Something that be picked up. Okay, so real quick with the magnet. If you use a high-powered magnet, I was told this by another abductee that actually disabled his own implant. If you have a high-powered magnet, such as going through an MRI or a CAT scan, it is supposed to be able to disable it, because magnets can disable, but it's got to be a real high-powered one.
They can, but they cause a hiccup in the broadcast. They don't actually cripple it.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. But what kind of a metal is encasing the implant? Do you know? Is it going to be alien, or is it going to be extraterrestrial material?
You're going to love this one, but it's actually a biometal, meaning it's something that it'll be a high concentration of something that naturally occurs in the human body.
Right. Okay. So implants, if I remember right, because I watched several documentaries pertaining to just straight implants. Implants are actually, unlike cysts, they become embedded and wrapped in neurotissue. Is that correct?
Yes.
They actually become a part of the body. Unlike a cyst or a foreign, a foreign body will actually work its way out of the body. The body is designed that way; it forces it out.
Or it'll be calcified, just become a nodule of calcium. Yeah.
Well, that is exactly why they use the biomaterial.
Which is why implants are different. Right, and implants are different in that they become one with the body. Which, if you watch some of those documentaries, you'll actually see, Dr. Lear, in fact, the implant seems to move away from his tweezers as he's trying to pull it out.
I've seen that.
And you can actually see it moving away. It's trying to, work its way further into the body instead of being removed.
Yeah.
And, okay, it's time for break.
It is, gentlemen. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break here real quick. When we come back, we're going to continue our discussion on alien abduction. And our panel tonight, we have R. Keith Andrews from the ET Connection on Spaced Out Radio. We have Eric Markham from the Encounter Online from Spaced Out Radio. And, of course, Eric Cooper and myself, Corey Reese of Forest Moon Paranormal. Join us every Saturday night at midnight, right after Spaced Out Weekend with Dave Cruz on Spaced Out Radio. And check out Spaced Out Radio 7 nights a week, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, www.spacedoutradio.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Would you like someone you can trust to look into it? We have just the place. The SOR Sightlines Report is the place for you to find answers. Whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, ghosts, aliens, or anything strange, the Sightlines Report will get you connected with one of our expert researchers to find out what's going on. All of your personal information is kept 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report, a place for you to find the answers you need. Only at spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays with me, Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. Our weekly feature on spacedoutradio.com will take you around the world discussing everything from the paranormal to the latest conspiracies from the top guests in their fields. We won't leave any story uncovered. Spaced Out Saturdays at spacedoutradio.com, starting 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed on tonight's show by tonight's hosts and guests are not necessarily those of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays, Spaced Out Sundays, or spacedoutradio.com. Listener discretion is advised. And now back for hour number 2, we have Corey Ruiz, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal, and S4. You can find Forest Moon Paranormal on Facebook. And for more information on S4, visit spacedoutradio.com. And now, here's Eric Cooper and Corey Ruiz.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are just joining us, tonight we are discussing alien abduction and what else they are doing here on Earth at this current time. Our current panel is R. Keith Andrews and Eric Markham. But before we get started, I would like to throw something out there to the chat room tonight. We would like to know for next week what you would like to hear on our next show. So, post in the chat room, and also you can go to the FMP group page and put there what you would like to hear, and we will announce it at the beginning of the show next week. With that being said, without further ado, gentlemen, welcome back to the show.
And thanks again for having us. You know, there is so much work that has to be done to put one of these shows on. I'm glad it's you doing it instead of me. But no, we're trying to. Levon was quick on that. You notice the chat room. He's already. I want cryptozoology info.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, we can do. You know what? It is out of the norm because we usually don't hit crypto topics. We usually focus on conspiracy and alien. But we can actually jump on and do a Bigfoot show.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that. But, basically, what I'd like to see is we'll see how many we get in the chat. We'll see how many we get posted to the page. Then we'll just take and, whatever one gets the most ideas put to it, that's the one we'll grab with and go for it.
Okay, and while we're watching the chat room, I have a question coming in. So maybe you can help, and I'm brainstorming too, but Keith, what are some ways to help with the recovery process? We stop abductions, but how can we help abductees recover from what they've been through?
Well, the first thing that has to happen, and you guys are on the right track right off the bat, you need to put them in touch with, or they've got to find a group or at least an individual that they can talk to that will not categorically go, "Oh, you're nuts." To that end.
You brought up a good point because it irritates me, the attitude of society today and the attitude of professionals. There was a 911 call that went through Whatcom County here in Washington, and it hit a local quote unquote news source. But this couple called 911 and reported spirits in their house, and automatically, law enforcement, they don't know what to do, but automatically they sent psychiatric. That's why we need to try to get paranormal teams that know what they're doing to get into the 911 call system. Is that ever going to happen? I'm going to try. I'm going to try like hell. But how do we get that step into the 911 call system where you have a case where someone's calling for spirits, and it could be psychiatric, don't get me wrong. I'd say half the chance is it is psychiatric. But what if it's not? Well, these are times. These are cases where our team can go in and clear it. And it's the same thing with abductees. They get, I think, in my opinion, the worst end of the stick because people are more accepting of spirits and hauntings than they are of abduction, which I don't get. I really don't. If you can believe in a spirit, what the hell is so hard about believing there might be life out, elsewhere? That's
sort of what I brushed on that in my presentation at the Paracon. It's, once you have one paranormal experience like I did, yeah, you can't rule out any of the other stuff because what happened to me should have been impossible. So if if one impossible thing can happen, well, I guess that leaves the book, that leaves it open for all the other impossible crap to happen too.
Well, it does, but the problem is that believing in a spirit or believing in a ghost, you're dealing with something that used to be human and has passed away, is the theory. When you're talking about off-worlders, we are talking about something that is physically right there. And most people have a problem accepting that possibility because, frankly, it's a whole lot more frightening to think that the boogeyman is a real entity as compared to it's just a spirit that you're picking up, and therefore we can essentially chalk it up to the imagination and cope with it.
I kind of have to disagree to an extent, but that's just probably my mindset. When the ghost talks in your ear, it's like, okay, that's not something you can dismiss or, like, I had such my experience was so unequivocal and so abnormal.
Well,
that
here's the
it was a paradigm shifter. I don't think anything after that would surprise me. Because, think of me, I'm a scientist. None of this stuff that we talk about and deal with on a daily basis is possible in my little universe.
Yeah.
Well, now all of a sudden it is. My universe expanded infinitely.
No, you got a slap in the face.
Yeah, with a 2x4.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the thing, Markham. And this is a very realistic problem. You're a trained scientist. You are taught essentially eliminate all logical possibilities, and when you run out of logical possibilities, your mind instinctively will reach out to everything else.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it's Occam's razor, or as Sherlock, or as Conan Doyle would have said, when you eliminate everything, whatever remains, however improbable is the truth. And
so that's where it's
I hit me.
So that's where
I've got a thought here. Yeah, and I know there's a lot of positive races out there, and I'm going to explain something real quick. You got contactees, and you've got abductees. Contactees are the ones that have this wonderful space brotherhood, awesome contact, nothing but positive, messages from the off-worlders, where abductees are taken against their will, and very traumatic experience. Now, what's your perception of contactees, Keith?
Well, that is just it. A contactee, more often than not, is somebody that, number one, does have a positive experience, but much more importantly, they're usually aware of it or aware that it is happening to them. Abductees can have a positive experience.
Okay.
But the contactees
you're
are already aware.
You're kind of one example of that. I won't say all of your experiences have been positive, but you do have positive experiences. Now, I want to take that one step further, because you know what Stockholm Syndrome is?
Yes.
Right.
Are some of these contactees possibly experiencing Stockholm Syndrome from a negative experience?
I'd be inclined to say more likely it's probably experiencing. And for those people that don't know what Stockholm Syndrome is, it's when the abductor or when the abductee forms a bond with the abductor.
Mm-hmm.
There are a great number that will see some sort of rationality or some sort of camaraderie with the off-worlders that take them, even and especially if it happens to be a negative, like an extremely negative experience.
That's the definition of a Stockholm. Yeah, that's the definition of Stockholm. You begin to identify with your captor. I guess it's an appeasement behavior at its root.
Yeah, right. And rest assured, for me personally, I didn't develop Stockholm.
Well, the reason I bring it up because for the listeners who don't know, I am working on a degree in Homeland Security, which has a lot of terrorism courses within that spectrum. And I already knew what Stockholm Syndrome was from years ago in the Army with training we did in the Army. But Stockholm Syndrome came up in the course I'm in. So I kind of put some of what I learned into the paranormal realm and do a comparison. And it's interesting, on that perspective. And it'd be really interesting seeing some of the professors' faces if they knew I was into the paranormal as well as taking, Homeland Security. But it makes you wonder, though, some of these, abductees or contactees, rather, are experiencing Stockholm Syndrome.
If I were looking at ratios, I would say you're probably looking at as much as 30% of your contactees are, in fact, suffering from Stockholm's.
Now, we actually did a contactee show, last year, wasn't it, Markham?
Yes, it was. If
you look through, all of our archives are actually either in the S4 Spreaker, we left them there, or they're on the YouTube channel. And if you go to the YouTube channel, we actually have a whole hell of a lot more than just S4 archives. S4 actually started from the Area 51 Cafe, which we ran back in, last May or June. We've actually exceeded a year now. So if you go jump into the YouTube channel, you actually see a lot of interviews we've done, a lot of shows we've done before we were even called S4. We actually did a contactee and UFO cult show. Well, we actually hit probably, about 20 different contactees and cults?
Oh, God. That's before that was probably just before my time. Because then we did, S4 with E squared. Until my work became S1 because my work schedule interfered so badly with the scheduling. But I vaguely remember. I know we did the alien race. We spent about 3 weekends on the alien, going through that Russian alien races document.
Yeah, we talked about Billy Myers. We talked about we talked about George Applewhite in Heaven's Gate, and So we've hit contactees. But so Levon wants to know what intrigues him is why are so many alien races coming to Earth?
It's because of the neural net and the triple helix. This is the greatest database in the quadrant of all life that is going on, all life, all communication. Earth, because of where it's sitting and because of a couple of rather unique, or shall we call them rare, planetary configurations, it becomes a phenomenal research center as well as an evolutionary database. As in, many of them are coming, watching Earth, watching mankind evolve as an ongoing cultural, if you will, cultural study. Humans have archaeology. These guys are watching civilizations grow, and mankind is growing at a staggering rate. As far as technological goes, it would be nice if their spiritual and their cognitive capacity would climb at the same speed. But this is a couple of the reasons why there are so many races coming, because especially when we look at the consortium, which brings an awful pile of races with it, mankind is leaving Earth. And if mankind leaves Earth without being brought up to speed, and this is where the off-worlders are concerned, mankind is such a curious, aggressive race that it can cause incredible damage at a staggering level if it is not guided. And this is not a case of slowed down or conquered. This is a case of teaching mankind that the color of your skin and the people you vote for, etc., does not make a hill of beans a difference as to whether or not you're in a situation that is going to be, shall we say, enjoyable. Okay, this is where the change in the frequency of abductions is happening. Is that the similarity between the abductions and the natural disasters is incredible, in as much as natural disasters and abductors don't question what your pocketbook or what your religious affiliation is. They literally pick out everybody.
Mm-hmm. I want to jump back to the original question from a few minutes ago. We didn't quite wrap that one up. But so the healing process of abductees, and yeah, I agree with we need to find more pure, and that's part of the GPI's plan is to get more psychiatric, more pure counseling, more pure discussion groups going. I would also encourage dream journaling, because you put it down on paper, it starts to heal the mind. Do you have any more to add to that, Keith?
Yeah, the other thing you can do, because you're really on the right track, but if we can find a way for them to even talk about it more in public would be an absolute bonus. But the other thing to do is see if the abductee can get somebody that they can talk to that can draw what they're looking at. That can help immensely in getting that image somewhere where they can work with it.
Okay.
Now, like the GPI or we need to get a police sketch artist on board, or some kind of forensic sketch artist. We don't
absolutely
seem to have that.
Well, and there's a lot of room for improvement of what we need to do, but the matter is getting the word out of what we're looking for, and getting people on board to do it. That's my problem. Because as I've told you before, I reach out to 5,000 different groups, and I haven't even bothered reaching out in quite a while because, well, frankly, I'm still recovering from Paracon and moving forward with Forest Moon. That's my goal, is to get the boots on ground team, because I honestly feel something's coming that we need to prepare for, and we need a boots on ground team that can handle it.
Yeah, and I agree with you wholeheartedly there.
So that's part of the reason for tonight's show is what's coming and how do we prepare.
Well, the preparing could be a problem. It's kind of like preparing for a hurricane. There's only so much you're going to do. That said, what's happening is there is no question that the question that people keep asking, are we alone, is getting answered. It's not getting answered by the government coming out and saying, "Oh, we're not, we're alone. We're not alone." It's coming from people, more and more people, seeing and recognizing it. Is the first issue. But the other thing that you're going to find is it's going to come right smack in the middle of the natural disasters. Okay, the starting edge of the unfortunate side of what's happening. Mankind has created a massive cross current in the neural net, and Gaia is literally starting World War III. World War III that people keep worrying about isn't people shooting guns. It's Mother Nature kicking back. And especially for the people that are watching through telescopes And I turn to the people that are, if you will, the amateur hobbyists. And I do know that there is something that's going to show up and the visibility of it is going to come out of the southeastern United States. And it's going to come through an amateur telescope to start with. That is.
No, are you talking something like Nibiru, or are you talking about alien craft?
Well, fairness, you'd be looking at both. They have the same thing there, but I'm actually referring to an inbound object. And if my suspicions are correct, it's going to be an asteroid, but it's going to be spotted by somebody out of the southeastern states, probably right in the Florida area. The other groups, the professionals, if you will pick it up afterwards. But it's going to create a stir. And the good news is we are not talking about the world coming to an end. So let's get off that before we get on it.
All right.
Okay.
Well, dang. I thought I was going to get to retire early.
Well, you might, but do you even know how to retire?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, my idea of retirement is not doing what I'm doing right now tonight on the clock. My idea of retiring is my own lab, my own investigations, working with Coop and the GPI. I would not be retired from anything but, just clocking in and clocking out here.
Oh, okay. So we're on the same page on that. I guess a lot of people seem to think retirement is something different.
Retirement is stop working and die. No.
No, Markham don't have the patience to go fishing.
I do. I love to fish, but I like to fly fish. I fly fish because you don't sit still. You can fidget.
Right.
Well, I'm all for flying and fishing, but isn't it difficult when you're in the plane to get the hook into the water?
Well, you just use a very long pole.
But, the reality, quite honestly, where it comes to one of the things that we've been talking about, and I've told people this consistently, over the years I've been doing this, for pity's sakes, I know I'm speaking for you guys as well, but for pity's sakes, drop me a line if you're running into a problem. And I will do my best to at least point you in the right direction. But I'm the last person to tell people they're nuts when it comes to potential off-world interaction.
Right.
Given what I've been through, you're going to be hard-pressed to convince me that it's not possible. But, in your case, Markham, you started off a true scientist, and now, in my eyes, you're even more of a true scientist, because now you're not blocking out that odd side of life.
Well, that's what's so friggin' amazing about all this. Just, there's so much. It expanded. It expanded. There's more questions. And true, science is a tool that people think about it as more of a religion or an end in its own right, but really science is a tool that creates more questions.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to find answers as a science. You want to find answers, but you want that answer to point you in a direction for another question.
Exactly.
Self-replicating.
And the funny thing is, and I get flack for this one, but there is a very definitive requirement for religion, spirituality, however you want to phrase that. They are absolutely critical in the scientific exploration side, because the religious side of things, that spiritual perspective, regardless of the title you put, that is where people develop the curiosity and the question to ask, how is that done? And that's where the scientists come in. They explain how what the spiritualists, what the religious people sense, the scientists figure out how it's done. And that's where the union is between the two. They're not mutually exclusive.
No, you're right. That's something I had to come to grips with. I mean, I'm not enough of a poet to articulate what the awakening was like. But, I guess it would be similar to somebody being blind or having tunnel vision, then one day waking up and full, regular vision. It opened up so many avenues, and it's just, it blew the doors off my mentality.
Oh yeah, I can relate. I can relate to that all too well. I was born colorblind, and I'll tell you the difference between what I see now and what I saw as early as 2007. I've only had full spectrum color vision for 10 years. And the wake-up call I had when the realization hit that I could actually see color that everybody had talked about for decades, and all of a sudden here I am looking at a world where grass really was different shades of greens, browns, and yellows. Prior to that, it was gray. And that's very much, in my eyes, what you're going through with what the scientific world had been as compared to what it is now for you. And correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, that's very much, and, my background is no-nonsense, blue-collar upbringing, kicked around for 10, 11 years after I graduated. Probably had 30 different jobs or different types of jobs before I decided to go to college in 1991. An experience that was prompted by a nightmare about being a 90-year-old tool repairman in the same rat-infested tool shop I was working in at the time. It's like, no, I honestly, I woke up, this dream was so vivid. I was an old man, and I'm looking at my hands all wrinkled, and it's like, oh my God, I spent my life doing this. And I woke up in a cold sweat screaming. And that summer, I started my freshman year at Austin Peay State University.
Talk about a life-changing wake-up call.
Right.
So what you're saying is you had that oh crap, holy crap moment, to put it bluntly.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, that came out of nowhere because, basically I would have liked to have made more money, but I was a hell of a good tool mechanic. Pretty much anything you could drag through the doors at that shop, I could fix. And, PVA was one of our biggest, and then this whole, I don't know, like I said, that nightmare, and it's just like an abrupt derailing from what I was doing to what I do now.
Oh yeah, talk about night and day difference.
Yeah, I still fix. I still love to do mechanical work, and I'm sure if you guys notice my hands, they're still scarred and calloused from the crap I do around the house. So I'm not an ivory tower scientist. I actually got my first degree from the so-called University of Hard Knocks. So
yeah, I kind of look at it because I talk to people like you. You've got your master's and your at least a bachelor's. Many people I talk to have their PhD. I'm sitting here going, would that I could have actually gone to school to learn to deal with any of it. The best I managed with my education was I managed to successfully fail college. I graduated, but I successfully failed college. And let's face it, my life got chosen for me way before I got into this wake-up call. My wake-up call came at 10 years old when I stuck my foot in my mouth. And what I find now with a lot of the people, like I was just talking to a lady that I'm actually trying to help right now. Her life was just plain normal. Her husband was having a few odds and ends that were a little weird, but it was a normal, everyday housewife type life. And all of a sudden, she's being abducted on a virtually daily basis. And like she said, it's like, how do I cope? Because her life has been turned completely upside down. But I do know from the people I've talked to, and even by talking to you guys about the things that you guys have talked to people about, having somebody that you can talk to that doesn't categorically tell you you're off your nut, is imperative to at least giving you a footing. I was one of the lucky ones where the shrink actually told me after everything I laid on the table, he actually told me flat out, there's absolutely nothing wrong with me, mentally speaking. He says, I just don't handle stupid people well.
Oh, I've had that issue raise its head on an occasion. I'm in a medical profession where kissing buttock is the rule, and I'm not good at kissing buttock.
No.
I'm 14 years from retirement if everything goes without any breaks, and I don't want to have to uproot and so I have learned to at least wave at buttock. At least get on friendly terms. But yeah, it's
ideally,
y'all know I speak bluntly in I'm on good behavior because we're on terrestrial now, but I don't have a by and large, overly educated daily lexicon I use.
Well, I look at that, Markham, and compare you to me, and I go, heck, you're an extremely articulate, soft-spoken, very politically correct individual. Of course, we are comparing you to me.
Say, what did I do to insult you?
And ideally, you'll be transplanting over here to headquarters, and we'll have our own Forest Moon lab with you running it.
Oh, God, I'd love that.
Well, we'll see what we can do for you.
I do have to say this, though. Eric Markham, you have a very evil-looking cat.
Oh, it's not just a look.
Oh, well, he was hiding when I got home. Because, I was gone for the better part of 3 weeks. I had a friend going in and, making sure that everything was okay, but he was pouting. And, I had to go hunt for him. One of the cats, the black cat, came running right away, but I had to go look for BB. And it was like, okay, butthole, I'm home. Quit pouting. And basically 2 minutes later, he's been a wart. I can't even go in, shut the door behind myself in the restroom without hearing that Siamese caterwaul. So I guess he missed me.
Just a little, eh? And of course, being Siamese, let's face it, you're dealing with an attitude of the legs.
Yeah. Well, he's been pretty much a constant companion for 13, 14 years. I got him at a cattery up in Maine when I was doing my first medtech, travel assignment, and he was 10 weeks old, and that's probably, that 3 weeks was probably the longest. That's part of the reason I want to get a RV so I can just take him with me next year.
Well, make it happen. Even if you have to borrow
working on it. Yeah, I might. I've actually thought of taking my old Ford F-150 King Cab 80, I think it's an 84, 87 something, and converting it into a motorhome.
In other words, take a vehicle that actually has the backbone to make the trip instead of these new tinfoil contraptions.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a question for you, Keith, because an issue came up within the last week of an individual that claims he's 10,000 years old, and he stole a cube device from an alien race. Now, have you ever heard of a cube device?
I've heard of a number of them. I am curious what race he claims to have stolen it from. That being said, normally the cube devices that we're referring to, most of them are information databases.
Okay.
Okay. But you have to watch the guy's bearing, because if he is in fact, and I'm like a lot of you, I'm very much a skeptic, although I live in this world. If he is in fact from 10,000 years ago, there are certain markers that I can't tell you by just listing them off, but there are certain things that will stand out like a sore thumb, like they did when I met the chap out of Atlantis. I met a friend of mine, actually, that I knew from back in Atlantis. And things just stand out so clearly because if he's from that time, right, then there is information that he will have that will add up. But to a normal person, that sounds really bad, but it's not going to make a lot of sense. Like, for instance, Markham, you're a scientist. But if I talk to you about the oscillatory densification of the tri-transtemporal equilarity, I don't know how much of that's going to make a whole lot of sense to you.
Actually, as I break that word down and take its individual thing, it actually makes sense. And it comes down to vibration. It seems with me, it just comes back to basic frequency and basic, vibration, which is what Tesla said it was all about anyway.
Ultimately, yeah. Tesla was a brilliant man. But, many people, like I've talked to people, you're actually an anomaly in that case, because I was talking to somebody the one day, and they just looked at me completely dumbfounded, and I had to break it down into its component parts. And as it turned out, they were a quantum physicist. And I'm like, and you missed that? But there are some, with that particular person, it would be interesting to talk to them and see exactly what they're referring to. It is possible, okay, and I'm certainly not going to say the guy's full of it because, well, frankly, I got nothing to work with.
Right. And his demeanor is pretty much what kind of threw me off, in that he had himself on a pedestal and he was better than everybody else because, he was 10,000 years old, and, you start flaunting and you start putting yourself on a pedestal, and I walk away.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with you about somebody about that the other day. I think it was you I was talking to. The moment, I've made no bones about it. My memories date back pre-building of Earth. And I myself do not see myself as any better than anybody on this planet. Certainly a different form of education. But that doesn't make me better. And I know some people that will put themselves on and that is the first warning sign. I'm X age old, therefore I'm better than you. I'm a god compared to you. These are comments that I look at it and go, okay, so you're a lunatic instead. It's the same as somebody that says, I'm better than you because my bank book's better.
That's sort of to me, that kind of person, the word starts with A and ends with E and has S-hole in the middle of it. If they were truly that evolved and that wise, I would think that you would have a much different demeanor.
Well, my other issue was I started asking him key questions that I look for, based on my knowledge and research and whatnot over the last 20-plus years. And every question I asked, he would top it. And, oh, no. That abductee's got nothing over me. I've been through this and this and this. And, oh, no, that, no. You know what? An abductee's an abductee. They go through the same stuff.
They really do. Markham's experience, your experiences, they are definitively different than what I've been through. But the trauma that you go through, I can only imagine, essentially, well, I've got a sort of idea, but the shock that Markham had to go through when he got that wake-up call, it was very much like the shock that you should have been on the phone with Dave Scott when it happened to him. I mean, the man, he studies this stuff, and all of a sudden it's blindsided. And I'll tell you, all the training in the world doesn't prepare you for it.
No, not even a little bit. Then the individual got mad because I stopped talking to him and demanded an apology. And I'm sorry, I didn't do anything wrong. I questioned, I threw out facts and questioned some of the stuff that he was talking about. And that does not warrant an apology on my part. If I'm calling you out based on stuff that I've researched and talked to other contactees and have other facts that contradict what, no, bye.
Yeah, that doesn't require an apology. It should be an apology for him, from him. But
this is how you couch the apology. Gee, I'm sorry you're an a-hole. must be a tough way to get through life.
See, now my way of doing it when I got forced into an apology was very simple. Invariably, if I was told you must apologize, and I'm going for what, I would apologize, right? But it would literally be, please accept my most insincere apology to date. Now, it was an apology.
Well, it's a Socratic apology. If you read Socrates, if you read the apology, it's so backhanded, and what a way to go out.
Yeah. But most people will miss that funny little word in the middle of that.
I have to say, interestingly enough, of all the different experiences I've ever had, I can't remember one where I had that oh crap feeling like most everybody gets. I don't know why. Stuff just doesn't seem to faze me. Maybe I'm just different. I don't know.
It doesn't faze me like that anymore. It's just sort of like, okay. No, I'm sitting there, I've told this before, but, I'm downstairs. Both cats are with me, and I hear footsteps walking, above me. So I think somebody's broken into the house, and they don't realize I'm downstairs. I go up, locked and loaded, 12-gauge, Mossberg ZMB, ready to go. Nobody there. Look around, no windows broken, no windows unlatched, and all my doors have those little security chains. So you can't let yourself in and then put that little chain back across. So, what's left?
Well, yeah, exactly.
I live alone, and the cats were downstairs, and somebody was walking upstairs. Like I said, when you eliminate everything else, whatever you have left over is,
That's what you're dealing with. But I can't explain why you don't get agitated or why you just take everything as a whatever. And you're not necessarily going to like it, but it is what it is.
Okay.
I don't get panicky on it because I've been going through this since the day I was born. Given that you started going through this sort of thing when you were born, this is just plain normal to you.
Okay.
It is now.
Oh, yeah, but for you, Markham, you get the what I call an advantage, in as much as you can get excited about all these new doors that are opening. For me, and presumably for Coop, it's a question of it's been going on for so long that, well, it's a door I haven't gone through, but there's a lot of those.
Yeah, I mean, it was I played, you heard, I don't know if you were in the room when I played my EVP at the conference. Just as an example of something that, I played it that night before at Cooper's house at the pre-party, but, I was just testing a reel-to-reel deck that I had just overhauled. Put a new belt in, cleaned it up, and just thought, well, what the heck? What better way to test it than, set it up to record? And I wasn't expecting anything. I was basically getting background noise data off that particular type of tape, those little 3M tapes, just to start, having my parameters to work with. And there's that, y'all heard it. I mean, definitely something on that tape. But
way beyond what should have been necessary.
It wasn't background noise, I know that.
Well, does it make you feel any better to know it was noise and that other people heard it too?
Well, it was fun to share. It was like finding a really interesting rock and showing it to everybody. It was fun to share. But under the circumstances, you should have seen what little hair I have left standing up when I originally heard it, because what? Rewind, several times. I played it for a friend of mine, and he just turned ash white. Where was that? It's in the room next door.
Oh, great!
And you live here? And it's my bedroom. Because I work nights, I have a little bedroom downstairs that it's dark as a cave. So.
Okay, and I've got a very cool announcement. I just confirmed. So since nobody else really discussed what they want to hear next weekend, we'll be talking cryptids, and Butch Wachowski is going to be on with us talking cryptids.
Oh, nice!
Awesome. I just talked to him. He gave me a thumbs up. He can be on the show. So we will have Butch Wachowski himself talking cryptids next weekend, next Saturday on S4.
Oh, very good.
Well, that ought to be entertaining.
Oh, it'll be awesome. Definitely awesome. And I know Trippin's sitting here, his head's spinning around because he's going, if we could get Butch Wachowski with all of us on S4 on one show, he's not going to know what to do. Because we blow his mind every time we talk. But we are down to 6 minutes. It's been as awesome.
Hey, and we lose Cooper. All right, hold on.
It's not an S4 show unless we lose Cooper.
Yeah.
It's just usually we do it in the middle of the show, not right in the last minute and a half.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, he's running behind.
All right.
No, this is definitely, I know I was noticing there, Markham, somebody mentioned, and I forget who, they've already scrolled past, that, they said there's a real difference in your energy pattern since concrete, right? And in all fairness, there is a difference to it, but I think that has to do a lot with the energy that was at that Paracon. I Coop was asking me when we started going, I was very, shall we say, a lot of trepidation around the whole thing. I can honestly say next year I'm already looking forward to it.
Oh, me too. Yeah, and I'm working a metric buttload of overtime in December so I can, make sure I got my $1,500 pledge paid for long. But yeah, I've scheduled. I've got some 70, 80-hour weeks coming up. So
yeah, so you've got a little bit of backlog that's coming up. For me, I don't get that option, so it's a case of really figuring out how to maneuver things a little better. But the point being, I'm really hoping that a lot more of the listeners that are on the show, like that are dropping in on S4 here, I'm really hoping that a bunch of them set their sights on concrete for next year.
Yeah, or whatever event, wherever we have it. I just want to make sure, yes, the energy was amazing because some of us met for the first time. We know each other through the show or through the internet, but to actually get all of us outside Cooper's house enjoying a beer or a soda or whatever, just the camaraderie, meeting with Corey, and it was amazing. It was
it really was.
I feel my battery got charged. I'm going through a lot of crap here at home, and it was just it was so great to get away from it and just get that recharge.
That's going to be the trend. We're going to kick off Paracon with our pre-Paracon barbecue for the speakers and special guests, Forest Moon Paranormal Core team, whatnot. Wake up refreshed or hungover, whichever. Start Paracon.
A little bit of both.
I can think of one individual that did a number for themselves.
Right. And then, of course, we'll have the VIP roundtable for the roundtable guests that get their tickets. And then we'll have our after Paracon barbecue, we'll get a bonfire again, and wrap it up. That's our year.
Where we burn, we burn wood and skeptics. No.
Yeah. I was
right, exactly.
Deniers.
We don't burn the skeptics, but we do warm them up a little.
We do.
That was good barbecue.
I was also thinking about the possibility of maybe have a VIP breakfast at my place or something. I'm going to see about working on that.
You get
I'm going to have a different schedule next year.
What now?
I'm going to have a different schedule next year. I didn't get to stay in Washington as long as I wanted to. But, next year I'm going to have a slightly different itinerary.
There you go.
Yeah, that's something.
Anyway.
Dave was right that the one thing that was really disappointing about it was way too flaming short.
I agree.
All right, well, gentlemen, I am going to wrap this thing up here for the evening since we are at the end of our show. So, I would like to thank our panel tonight. We had Eric Markham from the Encounter Online and our Keith Andrews from the ET Connection. Join us next Saturday at midnight as you, the listener, get to decide the topic of the night. Tell us in the chat room or go to FFP group and tell us what you want to hear. We will announce it at the beginning of the next week's show. And remember, we are on every Saturday night at midnight Pacific Standard Time, right after Spaced Out Weekend with Dave Cruz. Spaced Out Radio is on every night at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at www.spacedoutradio.com. Good night, everyone, and remember, keep your eyes to the skies.
Hi, you've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, my family's going to a tailgate and I want our style to stand out from the crowd.
Just go to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep, Old Navy's got all the latest fall styles. Plus, during Old Navy's colossal sale, you'll save up to 50% off store-wide.
Did you say up to 50% off?
I did, so don't sit on the sidelines. Old Navy has the perfect pants from $19, stylish dresses from $15, and comfy tees for the family from just $6 right now at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
We're cheering for Old Navy.
High Fashion, Old Navy. Valid 10/2 to 10/10. Select styles only.